Even if it's a preseason game, seemed like the defense got back to where you're looking for it. Was that the difference in the game?
Yeah, definitely. The way our guys started the second half, I think defensively was a big factor in the game. And we had a slow start. It's going to be a challenge for us early on in the season. With the short off season and the nature of the short preseason, the condensed preseason. Hopefully we're 4-0, but we certainly have a long way to go in terms of playing at the level that we want to play at, especially on the defensive end. We're making shots to stay in the game, but we got a lot of work to do.
Anthony Davis was so smooth from a shooting standpoint in the bubble, especially as it got forward into the finals, especially Frank. 6 threes tonight. What have you seen progression-wise from him shooting, and what does that do generally for the offense?
Well, it carries a heavy load, takes a lot of pressure off of everyone else when the ball's going in the way it was for Anthony. And, we want him to continue to, be aggressive at the three-point line. I thought he improved each month throughout the year. Last year was big in the playoffs from range, from deep. And obviously a great start tonight.
Any general takeaways from preseason, Frank, including the practices and the 4 games?
Really just guys getting used to each other, coaches learning players learning the scheme. I think it was a successful preseason from that standpoint. And, our guys trying to pick up what we're asking them to do and learning each other on the floor.
Dave?
Frank, for a team that you've tried to mold the identity around defense, to give up 39 points, I believe, in the first quarter, what's that like? And I guess in terms of trying to make sure you're where you want to be come Tuesday. And then, is your offense ahead of your defense right now?
Yeah, I would say our offense is probably ahead of our defense, but we've had spurts. We've had spurts of really good defense, being very active, connected, tied together, and then we've had spurts where we're step slow. And I thought the way we started both of the last 2 games, we were a step slow on some things, and that's just something we got to continue to work on.
Dan?
Frank, Anthony's aggressiveness in that third quarter, obviously, and just the second game, he's talked about wanting to take his game even to another level as a personal goal. Have you seen even more out of him? Obviously he's an amazing player already, but is there still more even there?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously he played at a pretty damn high level last year. But he's a guy that is never satisfied, wants to continue to get better, continues to work on getting better and growing his game. And, I think a second year in a system with a core, what we established last year should benefit him. But he's always going to want to continue to improve his game.
Kyle?
Hey, Frank. So both these games in Phoenix, you guys started out slow, like you talked about, but then, have pretty good runs on both ends. Another team that leaps to mind, lest I commit blasphemy, is the Warriors that were able to kind of become quite well known for doing these runs, especially in the second half. Given what you've seen in the last couple of weeks, the people you have, do you see potential to be that kind of team and have those kind of runs down the road?
Yeah, well, hopefully we won't put ourselves in those types of positions. I think Golden State did it differently than the way we do things. But for our ability, our team's ability last year to sort of figure out an opponent, figure out a game was special and unique. And I think you saw that in the last 2 games. Just throughout the game, identifying areas that were being hurt on and ways that we got to be better in attacking their defense with our offense. So I think you saw that in the last 2 games, and hopefully this team has that attribute the way last year's team did.
One thing, Fish, this team, even though it's just the preseason, wanted to win games. You got to like that. I want to give us a coach's perspective. Are you happy with what you've seen in these 4 games?
Yes, I would be happy with the things that I think we've all seen from this group for a team that is, NBA champions. Would have been very easy to not care as much about these preseason games. But you can see that they really are still intentional about building the right habits. Like Frank said, it's going to take some time for them to develop the consistency that it's going to take to ultimately win the championship. But through 4 games and through a couple weeks, considering how quickly they had to turn things around with all of the new additions, they look like a group that really wants to figure this out together. They're already communicating at a high level with each other. And I think this is going to be a fun team to watch throughout this season. So, yeah, there's always things to work on, but good luck the first couple weeks.
James, you get through the preseason straight off a championship. What goes into that as a player? What kind of mindset do you have when you go into that next season? There's just something about what you carry. You got that title. You know everyone's coming at you.
You know what it takes.
Yeah.
You know what it takes, as opposed to other seasons, maybe when you didn't make the playoffs or maybe when you didn't, be as successful and reach your goals. You just come back, you're working hard, to reach a goal or a championship. But when you won one, you have the formula. And you want to repeat that again, especially with the additions that they have made. They are, ready to go. So I think this team in particular with LeBron James and AD winning his first, they want to get, they've seen what these guys have done, winning 3 in a row. They've seen the history, and they want to be a part of that. So, I like what I see, on the bench doing timeout. Matthews talking to LeBron, Marc Gasol and AD, joking and laughing. They just kind of creating that synergy that they're going to need to go through a whole season. So I like what I saw in the first 4 games. A lot to work on, but a lot to deal with.
All right. Of his 35 in that third, he was 6 of 7 for 3 overall, 4 of 5 in that third quarter, and just 30 minutes, 35 points, Fish.
Yes, efficient. Still really wanted to try and figure out how to win this game. Like, I don't think they felt like the world was going to end, obviously, if they did it. Talked about Frank Vogel really getting on them at halftime about their lack of defensive intensity. And that's really what seemed to turn them on. Like, as they started to really lock in defensively. The Suns scored 39 points in the first quarter, finished with 113, 74 points the rest of the game. And so this Lakers team, anchored by Anthony Davis in the middle defensively, we're going to talk about the 35 points for sure. But I think he still has that defensive player of the year mentality, and that's going to be a good thing for this team to hang their hat on.
And big game, we saw it last year when this team was at their best. It was AD blocking shots, Lakers getting out in transition. AD not only dominated